Hey guys, what's up? My name's Todd, and today we're taking another look at Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planeswalkers 2012. This is the Ancient Depths Kiora Atua deck, and yeah, I'm sure I'm saying that name wrong, but if you worked for Magic, I apologize. So, the last one, and the only one that I had done, was the Gideon deck, the white deck, as far as deck construction goes. Essentially what I want to cover in this video is kind of go over some of the card selection choices that I made to bring the deck down to 60 cards. And one of the things I want to express right off the bat is the ideas and philosophies that I'm applying to this video apply only to one-on-one head-to-head games, and they don't really necessarily apply toward arch enemy decks or two-headed giant or even like the free-for-all multiplayer stuff. So some of the choices that you guys make in your decks that you think are amazing may or may not apply to some of the ideas that I'm trying to get across in this. So that being said, the first card we're actually going to cut out is New Frontiers. Now, if you do play arch enemy, this is amazing. It helps out your team immensely, even in two-headed giant. I guess it could be argued that it's okay. I personally don't like it in like one-on-one duels because of the immense amount of help it offers your opponent. So I end up actually cutting this out. I feel like the deck has plenty of ways to get its own land that you don't need a green X spell to get more land. Coiling Oracle is insanely good at what he does. He creates a body, he gets you a free card, he replaces himself. If you do end up getting a land, it comes into play untapped, which is a really nice resource when you hit, third and fourth turn. You can actually cast another spell. The Kraken we actually keep in. I know a lot of people cut him out because they hate that he's just an 0-4, but he keeps early beats off. Oh god, that sounded terrible. And he keeps your life totals above critical levels. And he gives you a target for Polymorph, which is one of the better spells in this deck. Explorer is one of those like air quote nifty cards. It's pretty cool when you first see it, and then when you start playing with it you realize that it's not exactly the best card ever. I do like it though enough to keep a couple in the deck because I do want to draw it, but at the same time it's not necessary to the deck. I mean, getting the extra, being able to play the additional land is nice and very useful, but at the same time there are other cards in the deck that I would rather draw. Treasure Hunt, I have a hard time vouching for this card because early game you have so much land in your deck. I think we end up being around 25 land in the deck, and a lot of the times you'll just net a card or no cards because of how much land is in your deck, and at that point I would rather play another Explorer rather than Treasure Hunt. So if you kind of follow that logic, late game it can be amazing because your deck does get a lot of land out of the deck. But for this deck, I feel like the late game is not where you need to worry at all. The early game is where you want to put your focus in excelling, and Treasure Hunt just does not do that for you. So I actually get rid of that, and for that reason, that's why I keep Compulsive Research, because late game it can be good, and early game it's definitely good because that's when you're trying to find more land get and more resources, and this is a card that can do that. There's no other real cards to play on the third turn other than Cultivate, so it's a or not the third turn, but for 3 mana, because saying on the third turn isn't necessarily true with some of these other cards that let you get out land. But essentially having another 3-drop card draw is a nice option. Cultivate is insane. It's obviously one of the better cards in the deck if you've ever played the deck. You understand that the concept of the deck is really just to get as much land out as possible as fast as you possibly can, so that you can accelerate into a gigantic game-winning creature. This guy is almost irrelevant in my opinion. you don't have enough creatures that are going to be attacking early on to where you're going to be drawing cards. Like, he would be kind of cool if you played an Aether Mutation and had like 5 little 1/1s, and you know what I mean? Like, then he would be neat, but he just requires too much else to be happening in the game to really be good, in my opinion, in this deck. If you could somehow play this thing in the Jace deck, he would be amazing, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of going along the lines of I'm playing a control deck / combo deck, and not necessarily an aggressive deck that would really benefit from his card draw. And for that reason, you know, since this isn't really an aggressive deck, their life total is almost irrelevant. If it's 20, if it's 9, you know, you're going to win in the same amount of turns almost anyway. It's just going to be a few attacks that are game deciding. And so the 3/3 really doesn't help you out. Flying Trample, you know, that's almost irrelevant in this deck. I know he acts as a polymorph target, but you know, the same reasoning is going to apply to the giant octopus that are in the deck. Excuse me. So I get rid of both of those as well. Now the Zeppelid is a sweet creature. I mean, looking at him, for 4 mana he has 2 different abilities, flying and trample, both what they call evasion, and that they push damage through. And you know, his mana cost is pretty manageable, but for this deck he just doesn't really have a nice fit. Elvish Piper is exactly what your deck does. It's trying to put out your game-winning cards as fast as possible, and this is one of the fastest ways in the deck to do that, so we keep her for sure. Explosive Vegetation is pretty amazing, so we keep that for sure. Levitation on paper sounds sweet. You know, you're thinking, oh, I have this 12/12 Annihilator guy who's indestructible. If he's flying, I pretty much win the game in 2 turns, you know? I will wager to say that if you play the Annihilators and you're attacking for 2 turns, your opponent more than likely is going to concede before you actually win the game anyway. And Levitation at that point is just a card that could have been a land get spell. It could be an Aether Mutation, a blocker, a card drawing spell. You know, it's like a filler card that really doesn't necessarily push you toward winning the game, and it doesn't really change the field. So I personally cut it out of the deck. It's not a bad card necessarily, it just doesn't really feel like it fits in this deck. If you watched my last video, you know how I feel about life gain, and I don't necessarily think this is necessary, although it is kind of cool, because you can gain a lot of life with it. But I do cut him out, because I would rather be drawing cards that are winning me the game or changing the board in a direct manner. He's amazing. He gets a land and creates a blocker, and that's pretty much all you can ask for in this deck. Polymorph is essentially a game-winning card, so we keep this in. And to put it in quick dummy terms, you know, you cast this on a token of yours or some other expendable creature that's in play that you control, and you hopefully, quote-unquote, trade out for another bigger game-winning card. And more oftentimes than not, that's the case, because you don't really play a whole lot of other creatures. And worst case scenario is, you know, you get like a giant or a Corling Oracle and get another card out of it. So it's not totally terrible, but also it can be used offensively because it doesn't say your creature. So say they play like a Baneslayer Angel or something else that's really big and kind of annoying you. You can play it against your opponents, and chances are in their decks they're just going to get another 2/2 or something that's not as detrimental to the game. Rite of Replication is amazing in this. You have so much mana, and kicking it is very easy. Getting 9 mana is not really incredibly difficult. So you can make some crazy copies of all different types of creatures, and once again, you know, it doesn't say your creature. You can, you know, target your opponents and get some Baneslayer Angels and all types of crazy stuff. But yeah, it's very good. Skyshroud Claim, land get, we keep that in the deck. It's definitely good. Aether Mutation is amazing on so many different levels. It gives you a polymorph target. It also creates some tempo in that, you know, it returns a creature to their hand, so they're going to have to recast that and potentially spend a whole nother turn, you know, depending on what they cast and when you're when you're returning it to their hand. You also have some polymorph targets, which is awesome, and blockers, which is awesome. So we definitely keep Aether Mutation in the deck. It has many uses and it's very nice. Mind Control is another one of the few options you have in affecting the board in terms of like creatures in play and threats. Threat management, I guess is what we could call it. So we keep that. And the Mirror Match, it's pretty much game winning anytime you cast it, because you're more likely going to be casting it on, you know, like a Primeval Titan or like one of their Annihilator creatures or the Giant Octopus dude. Not the actual card, the Giant Octopus, but whatever this guy's called. Lorthos. So you resolve Mind Control against the Mirror Match, you're probably going to win that game unless you're super far behind. Primeval Titan we keep, Tidings we keep. That's a very good card economy as far as 5 mana for 4 cards with a deck that can get a ridiculous amount of land super duper fast. Isleback Spawn I actually take out of the deck. He's 7 mana for a fairly mediocre creature. You know, best case scenario, he's an 8/16 that they can't, you know, that nobody can target. But he doesn't have any form of evasion, so he's just a giant blocker in my opinion, and I don't like him. Simic Sky Swallower is a game winner in any format, pretty much. Like, he can't be targeted, he has 2 forms of evasion, and he's big enough to block and kill whatever is blocking him, so we keep him. Lorthos is a incredible game winner. And if you notice a theme here, you know, he's a mythic rare, and most of the times you're going to be winning with a mythic rare in this deck. Tidal Kraken is good, but he's easily killable. With all different forms of removal, he has no way to protect himself. And he actually, in my opinion, kind of costs a lot for what he does. I mean, he's unblockable, that's nice, but at the same time, it's just not enough for me. Yavamaya's Embrace is amazing. Same concept as Mind Control, and this is just a nice way to have 2 of those effects in the deck. Inkwell Leviathan we keep. He's got a nice couple forms of evasion. Shroud helps protect him, and if you notice, you know, he's almost that other Leviathan guy, but he's already big and he has a decent cost, so we keep him in. And then the 2 gigantic guys that everybody knows that plays this deck, Kolozek and Ulamog, these guys are ridiculous. Annihilator basically means they have to sacrifice that many permanents when this creature attacks. So if I attack you, you have to sacrifice 4 permanents when he attacks. So you could potentially lose blockers before, you know, damage is even dealt. And worst case scenarios, oftentimes you're losing all your lands and basically getting locked out of the game to where you can't cast any further spells and recover. So this puts us at 60 cards, 25 land, which is a good amount of land for the deck. And real quick, I'll just cycle through the cards that I got rid of, because I know this is a long video. New Frontiers, we get rid of a couple Explorers. Treasure Hunt I dropped. Edric, the Spymaster dude, we get rid of. The Zeppelids and Giant Octopi we get rid of. Levitation we get rid of. The life gain spells we get rid of. And then we get rid of the Isleback Spawn Kraken guy and then the Tidal Kraken guy. And that leaves us with a pretty straightforward deck. You know, we have a nice curve going into the first 3 turns that gets us enough land to be able to start doubling up on some of these forecasting cost spells. And hopefully, you know, by the 6th or so turn, you're able to put out some of these bigger game-winning cards. Okay, real quick, I've got the white deck construction at the top. Clicking on that link will take you to the video where I rework the Gideon deck, similar to how I had done this one with Ancient Depths. Below that, I have a free-for-all match where I did live commentary for Call of Duty Black Ops, and in that I just used the MP5K and hip-fire it. More times than not, the live commentary is me just rambling about whatever is on my head while trying to shoot people at the same time. So, not super duper in depth, but still fun to watch. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I appreciate you watching, and take it easy.